Welcome to Tuesday Lunch Live, talking all things business. I'm Faye Waterman and I'm your host. This show is all about small business owners and creating more visibility and standing out in the crowd. The show is all about the business owner and what they do, why they're passionate about what they do, and how they can help you. And today's guest is Carmela D'Amore. And Carmela is an international Sicilian chef, an author, an ambassador of Sicilian food, and a cooking specialist. Welcome, Carmela, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Faye. Thanks for having me on your beautiful show about business. It's a pleasure to be part of this show and sharing my story with you.
Thank you so much. Now, today we're going to be talking about things like food and the human connection, what led you to write the books that you've written, and about Sicily. But let's talk a little bit about who you are and what brought you to do what you are so passionate about.
Okay, so I'm going to look at the start. My maiden name is Amato. So I've done my ancestry DNA, and we found that the Amatos have been cooks of the past.
Right.
A whole lineage, cooks of the past.
Okay.
Cooks. We used to sell a lot of like food, sheets and stuff in the streets.
Okay.
Excuse me. And we used to also, we're part of barons, a medieval name, our surname is, and it means beloved of God. And then I married, and my surname is D'Amore, means love as well.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But food has been part of my life as far as I can remember. Being the daughter of Sicilian migrants, everything is always rearranged around food. So,
not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's a fantastic thing. I think food is fantastic. It's how you look at it. Some people can be very overwhelmed when they think about food, but when you realize food is very much a part of your everyday life. Without food, you die.
Yes, so true, so true. But what brought you to create the books that you have created and developed that love for food to connect people and bring people together? What was the actual connection there?
I think the connection was bringing the past into the now.
Right.
That was the connection, because I really wanted my clients and people to understand what food is. It's like having a beautiful present and never opening it up. That's what I felt like, and I had to go through a lot of obstacles to really to go out and reveal who I am. It's not easy being out there and showing who you are, because then you're exposed to the media, the social media, in the community, and then people know who you are. So you've got to first know who you are before you can do that, right?
Yeah. And what was your fear at first? Was it that fear of being judged, or the fear of doubting yourself? What was it? Was there anything like that when you first started?
I think we always doubt, but we never realise the value of what we are, do we, Faye? Everyone doubts. For me to say that I didn't doubt is a lie. I did doubt. But once I started to unwrap and unpack that part of me and realise who I actually am and what I represent to people, and the value that I bring to the table, to the community, to my clients, to everyone that comes across my path, is really huge when you think about it,
It is massive because, I mean, you have a restaurant, so therefore you have people coming and going from your restaurant daily. So you would meet some amazing people. How did you get the time running a restaurant and actually writing your first book? How long did it take you to write your first book, and what's it called? And do you have a copy there?
Yes, I do. So my first book is Carmela's Cucina Povera, a journey of self-discovery and healing through Sicilian cooking.
Wow.
And then you can see my paternal grandmother, Carmela,
right,
my maternal grandmother, Santa, my mother, Serena, and myself.
Wow.
So this book has 70 recipes in it, over 70 recipes.
Right.
And I wrote this book especially for the era that I was born in and the nonna side. So I wanted people, and I wanted to preserve the grandmothers of that era because they were magnificent cooks.
Yes. And it was the love, wasn't it? It was the love and the passion that they actually put into cooking the food. And then
that was their way of revealing their love for you when they cook for you. You know, are you hungry? That was their way of saying, I love you. I want to give you something that I've got. You know, that was their way of displaying their love for their children and their grandchildren. You know, they can always, up till even married. I remember my nonna saying to the married ones, have you eaten? And it wasn't a way that their wives hadn't cooked for them. It was her way of showing them, I love you.
And I want to serve you. I want to give you something from my heart.
Yeah, and that was all they had.
Yes.
Was their knowledge of cooking, whatever was their best dish. They loved to showcase it to their loved ones.
Right. And the response to this book has been what?
The response to it has been enormous, much bigger than what I thought, because originally I had only written it for my children and my grandchildren because I wanted them to
have a legacy.
Yes, have a legacy, but more to know, because they'd never known my grandmother. They never known my great-grandmother. They never knew my mother because she passed away at an early age. She was 73 and got dementia, and so for the last 7 years of her life, she was in a nursing home. So they never got to have that interaction of a great-grandmother or, you know, that. So I wanted to preserve her and her mother and my grandmother so that my children, when they start to go on the journey of finding their own essence, that they can come to something like as so beautiful as this. There's my grandfather just there in the back.
Yes.
You know? He had a beautiful saying. He said, better to be a lion for a day than a sheep for 100 years. Very courageous.
Very courageous. Very courageous. So what started you on the path of owning a restaurant to start with?
Well, I've been in restaurants all my life. My father was the first Italian to open up an Italian restaurant in Rye in 1974. Right. I was born in a restaurant in Kilmore in 1960. And so food was their way of giving a trade to Australia when they came. We had many restaurants. So it's the norm.
The norm. You know no different.
I don't.
But it's passionate for you, isn't it? It's something that you really enjoy, and you give pleasure to so many people by cooking for them.
It's our way of interacting.
Yes.
People. It's
connecting.
Our way of human connection.
Yes.
Without sitting at the table, we become isolated. And so I was noticing in the restaurant that a lot of people were coming with devices.
Oh, devices, yes.
Not communicating. And so I realised that the era had changed. It was a digital era.
Yes.
We're in an era now of virtual reality,
So true. So true.
where the interaction is with a computer or a device, not with a human.
Across the table.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we're human beings. We need the interaction with another human being. That's the best medicine in the world.
Yes. Yes, so true. And if you sit at the table, you go to restaurants and you see couples sitting there, and one could be, I was having this conversation today, one could be reading the paper and the other would be on their mobile phone, and there's no interaction between them. And
then they wonder what's the matter with them.
Yes, but you see this all the time. This happens all the time, and particularly if they take children out and they want to have a conversation, so they give the children the electronic devices, whereas they need to meet as a whole, not half or a part, and just have a little bit of interaction here and there. And I watch that in cafes and things like that. So your book and your cafe, your restaurant, is there to bring communities together, bring people together, to have a conversation and meet around the table.
Yeah.
So that you can connect with each other on that level of talking about the magnificent food, the great company, and the amazing conversation that you have with each other.
Yeah. So the reason my husband and I actually went into Sorrento, we had semi-retired, and we have 4 children, and we wanted to give the children a place that they could showcase their own. They're all in food. My daughter isn't now, but at that moment she was. And so we wanted to have a restaurant that was like an extension of our home.
Right, yeah.
So we could give the community a place that they could come and feel like they're part of a beautiful atmosphere and a beautiful culture, but also a safe net, a place where they know that the food, we're not 5-star, it's not fine dining, but it's called casalinga, which is like home.
Right, okay, casalinga.
Casalinga, yeah,
Right.
it's like home cooking. So you can taste the flavours and the freshness of like you were just given a meal that was prepared by your mum or by your nonna.
Yes, yes. And that's beautiful, isn't it?
Well, it's important because I wanted to preserve the Italian culture. It's taken me a while. I would like to have a menu where it's my menu, but being in Sorrento, I can't at the moment. So I slowly introduce different kinds of foods into the menu, and then see if it's a winner with the locals and with other people. And then I know I can slowly get to broaden the menu as where I want to take it.
So it's trial, and it's a trial and tested, and then added to the menu, and then gradually introducing people slowly to learn the tastes and to really get to enjoy something that's different, but not that different.
Yeah, not different. But so my goal is ultimately, if it's possible, to have a menu where they can taste Sicily's history.
Oh, and talk to me a little bit about, I know you're so passionate about Sicily, and we've talked about that. And you've taken tours of people to Sicily to experience the cooking and the chefs, and taken them shopping and had a day of cooking and things like that, which I'm going to get to experience with you.
Oh, I can't wait.
2020, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yes,
But
me too.
yeah, so
Go
talk
on.
to me about that. What made you start doing that?
What made me start was that Sicily is a place that's very much alive. and in the streets, in the markets, there is an energy where it's infectious. You cannot walk in the street without feeling that energy.
That vibrance.
Yes, and where we are today, in today's society, where you find a lot of people, you walk down the street, not everyone looks at you or acknowledges you.
No, they don't.
Where you come into I come from Sicily, so people everywhere, buongiorno, 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 buonasera, buon pomeriggio, you know, things like that, where if you smile, not all the time, like I live here on the Mornington Peninsula, so when I walk every morning, there is never one or two maybe that don't say hello, but the majority of them do. You know, it's a beautiful environment where I live.
Absolutely.
It's very much a lot like Sicily, without the weather.
Yes.
Without good weather.
Yes.
So I wanted my clients to feel that experience. Why? Because I want them to bring that back with them and infect other people. That's what's important, is the experiences in the markets, the experience in the restaurants, the experience in arts. I mean, Australia is a very young country.
Yes,
where we don't have a lot of art. We've got a lot of new art coming up, but yet you can't walk the streets where in the 1800s, you know, you go into Palermo, which is the capital city of Sicily, and it's an intersection. It's called the Quattro Canti, which means the four corners, and you see four corners where once the four Spanish kings once ruled, and it's right up. So we don't have that here in Australia, but we can bring that experience back with us. That experience for, wow, you know?
Yes.
It's broadening and educating our minds. And when we educate our minds and we change our mindsets, the world's our oyster. We can sit there and have conversations with people over food and have that you can feel that love for life rise.
That energy.
Up.
Yes, that energy and that vibrance. And it also creates a memory. I mean, you take them away to this place, this beautiful place called Sicily, and you give them all these experiences, and they come back with so many memories. And they will go to different places around wherever they live, and they'll see something, or they'll smell something, or they'll taste some food, and it will bring back a memory of where they've been.
But it's also a human connection.
Yes.
Because you're meeting people that are 5-generation shepherds. You're meeting pastry queens that are Maria Grammatico. She's the queen of Sicilian pastry. You get to do things with her. We go and see the Duchess of Palermo. We spend the whole day. So we're interacting with human connection. There are no devices when we're out. So it's also giving you a break away of realizing, hey, life's meant to be lived.
Yes.
It really is. Yes. We're meant to live it.
And we forget that, don't we?
Yeah, too many of us are not living. We're surviving, we're not thriving.
Yes, so true. So how do you want to see in another year or two, what difference do you want to make? What's the impact that you want to make around food and around that communication and that connection with people around the table? I know you've written a second book, and that second book is?
The Heart of the Table. Unlocking the treasures to family and community through Sicilian food.
Right. So that's actually really honing in on and bringing in that energy of getting people around the table and sitting there having conversations, you know, a big long table, and they're passing the food around and laughing and having fun and enjoying and eating beautiful food. Yeah,
well, you know, we have the long tables, many long tables today. A lot of chefs are bringing them out. A lot of places. We've got the food and wine festivals where you've got long tables. People are realising today that it's important. And then, you came to my book launch.
Yes, I did.
I'm sure you were very, very busy, as I was busy. But in that day, this is the spirit that I want people to understand. In that day, when you actually take the time out to put your phone away and spend it with people, and you have some a few drinks, a few glasses of wine, and you have some food, what happens is everything that you're going through in your life, and everyone on this earth is going through some challenge, some obstacle. There's no one that's not going.
Always.
Yeah. But
always.
When you've taken that time and you've put all your challenges and obstacles on aside for a few hours, and you spend that with, and you interact that with strangers, friends, and you spend that at the table, when you come back home, your issues, your challenges are really not as big as you think.
Yeah. And it is that interaction with strangers and finding out who they are and really having that conversation. And it is a real conversation. It's not just a little bit of a chit chat so you can say hi. It is actually a real conversation that people talk to you and explain who they are and what they do and why they're passionate about what they do. And they feel comfortable in an environment where they can sit at a table and have that conversation and eat food and just relax.
You are communing with another being, with another spiritual being, with another person at the table. That, it's not just about yourself, because when we think too much about ourselves and we get too involved into our devices or in the computer or in work and stuff, time passes us by. We've not lived it. So I'm not saying that you've got to live your whole life at the table, but when the time comes that you've got to eat and you've got to take that time out, it can actually be a very special time, and it builds relationships, it builds trust, it builds interaction with human beings, and it builds memories. Because I remember when my mum passed away, and my grandparents passed away, and loved ones have passed away, because we spend a lot of it in Festa, which is celebrating with family. There was the chronicles of my mind. My mind became a video recorder, and I remembered all the times that I sat at the table with all these people, and I felt really, really good that I'd taken the time to sit, to eat, to share a meal, to commune, to interact, to connect, and to build the relationship stronger. I had no regrets.
Yes, and you've put those stories, those memories into books to bring it out and share it with the community. It's not just memories for you, it's actually storytelling and letting people know where you come from and what experiences you've actually had, and the love and the joy and the presence of connecting with people and communicating. So it's given you a legacy, and it's also given other people something to appreciate, to enjoy, to read, and have an understanding of why, when they walk into your restaurant or they walk into your takeaway part, they have a better understanding of the passion you have for creating an environment that is comfortable and one where a conversation can take place.
Well, it's important that the customer and the client and the patrons feel that when they come into the restaurant. I always talk to my staff on a weekly basis about that the patron comes in and they're the first person that they see, which is important. They're the extension of me because I'm not always at the restaurant. And so it's important that they feel that connection, even though it's not me, but they can feel that energy. That energy is vibrant, and they need to feel that, because it's important that you take that with you. It's not about food. It's about the energy of that connection of what food brings in relationships.
Yes, yes. And we all have to eat.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
It's important, but it's also about how we eat, what we eat, and where we eat that represents us.
Yes.
So in a world that we're becoming in a fast food takeaway, everything's fast food, fast relationships, fast everything. And then we wonder why we're so burnt out.
Yeah, fast food, fast relationships. I like that. I'd rather go home and have a piece of toast than go and get fast food.
Well, you and I come from that era, you know, that era where relationships, there was a courting time.
Yes, yes.
And there was a reason for that courting time, because it was getting to understand and know one another. You can't
know, trust.
Yeah, you know what I used to tell my daughter about relationships? Do you have the dessert before you have the entree?
And don't even answer that one.
So you have the dessert, you have the main course, and you think, okay, you know, I'm feeling okay here. I got a little bit of room for dessert here. But today our relationships are going straight to dessert, and then we're wondering what's going on. Well, we haven't even digested the relationship, so it's important.
Connected. Yeah, haven't connected. Yeah,
we haven't connected, so it's important. Go on.
I love the description. I love it. It's wonderful.
Being a foodie and a chef, and my whole life, so I'd always give examples and analogies. There you go. The wog in me can't remember the name.
The wog. Don't you just love it? You know, you get into trouble for calling someone a wog these days.
No. Another wog can say a wog to another one, but another one can't say wog. We take that.
Yeah, I can't say wog to you, and I wouldn't say it anyway, because I just don't like it. I think, you know, you're a human being like I am, and, you know, you come from a different culture.
Yes.
But that doesn't matter. And
yes.
It's important that, you know, letting people know who you are. So let's talk a little bit more about who you are and what you see your future, or what you see the future of food and the connections with people.
So I would like to be able to spread that a little bit more. So both my books are on Amazon and Booktopia, but it's an introduction to who I am. And so I would like to see that I've been given my own radio program where I talk about food and Italian music, so that's really cool. I will be doing live streaming cooking with 3RPP FM.
Beautiful. I'm coming to watch.
Oh, wonderful. So it's about Italian, Sicilian, very much the same but different recipes, but we're very much, the benchmark is seasonal produce. You must eat food that's in season. So we're wondering tonight, I see watermelon, strawberries that are not in season, and then we complain that it doesn't taste right. Well, it's not meant to taste right because it's not in season.
Yes.
And that actually wrecks your body, because your body's not digesting things that are in season. So when you eat, we're coming into winter, so our body slows down. It needs to eat more nourishing food, more soups, more stews, more heartier meals, but not so heavier meals. Summertime, we introduce lighter meals, more lighter protein, like fish should be more implemented into our regimen, into our everyday cooking. more salads should be into our everyday nourishment. And what it does is your body breaks it up better, and it's able to, and then you start to think clear, you eat better. But when we're stuffing it and numbing it with takeaway's okay. Like I have takeaway every now and again, and then I realise, hey, I didn't even know why I went there. I was better off just opening up a can of tuna, putting a bit of lettuce and having that if I'm in a hurry.
Yes.
But it clouds our brain, and then we're like, our brain goes to sleep. It can't think properly. So it's about educating. So that's what I'm really all about, educating you about food, how to eat, what to eat, where to eat it,
and why you eat it. Yes, why you eat it.
So go on.
You also run cooking schools as well, but you only do small groups.
Yes,
and
I do.
So you're teaching people how to cook food and what produce at what time of the year that you can utilize and cook. So how often do you do those cooking programs?
So I run a Sicilian cooking experience once a month, the first Wednesday of every month, and I'm booked out until November, it's great.
Fantastic.
Yes, it is great. And I take 2 at a time. That's the most I do, because cooking is about connecting.
Yes.
And if I have more, then you always lose one. And it's a personal thing. So for me, it's not about the money.
Quantity.
Yeah. It's not about the money. It's about what I can give you, the value that comes in the cooking experience. And so we only cook Sicilian food, and we use local produce. So it's a great combination of using the old recipes, the cucina povera recipes that are family. The recipes are over 100 to 200 years old. So it's giving the interaction and the value of something that's old, but using the ingredients that are local. So we still stay in the community, share the community, and the client feels, wow, so it's my way of giving you the old with the new.
And it's also, you can tell the story of that 200-year-old recipe, where it came from, how it came about, and where they sourced the ingredients that they sourced for that particular recipe. Yeah. And it's really interesting to hear the stories about a recipe that is 200, 300, 400 years old, and it is still available today because people like you keep bringing it into our environment where we can enjoy it. But a lot of the time, we as humans go in and eat this food, but we don't know the stories.
It's a cultural story. It's about sharing the culture and the story, and you end up interacting with that recipe, and you find, wow, I'll just give you a very simple recipe. It's called pasta alla norma. It was called il caritello first, but then they changed it to pasta alla norma. Vincenzo Bellini, he was the opera composer in the early 1800s, and he created this dish, but I'm sure that the dish was before that his time. His mum probably made that, and it's just using eggplants, or as in Italy and in the UK they call them aubergines, but yes. And they slice them up and they fry them, and they add them into the Napoli, into the dish with beautiful, at the end you add fresh basil, and then you turn off the frying pan with all that sauce and the eggplants in there, and then you cook up, before you can cook up the casarecci, which is short pasta rolled up. Oh, yes. And then they end up soaking up the Napoli very well in the dish, with the dish, so they complement each other. So Vincenzo Bellini named this dish pasta alla norma after his opera, the Norma.
Oh, okay.
And then you grate baked ricotta, and you grate it on top. So you've got the saltiness, the sauce, and the soft of the eggplant. Very simple dish, but yet this dish is from the early 1800s, but it has a story to tell you.
Yes, I'm looking forward to all those stories. All those stories, they'll be amazing. So if you were to give the listeners 3 tips on you, your restaurant, and your writing, what would they be?
So everything about me, my whole identity is cucina povera. It's about poor kitchen. So it's all a sum build up of my nonnas, grandmothers, my mother, my aunties, all the women and men in my life, including my grandfather, who taught me how to cook. I represent them.
Right.
I'm them.
Okay. So
with my own uniqueness.
Yes.
Because
Beautiful.
you still have to be you.
Yes.
But there's a DNA foundation of food that's me. So what I want people to realise and understand is, if you think about the deliciousness of food is the character of the food. Food has its own character, just like we have our own characters. So when we taste something and we think, oh wow, that tastes delicious, that's its character coming up and talking to you and wanting you to dance, your taste buds to dance and your digestion to really, really enjoy. So that's what I want people to know. When they have that sensation, I want people to think Carmela, because that's every time I teach or I take people to Sicily, it's got to have flavour.
Yes.
Character.
Beautiful. And now you're writing.
Yes, my writing is about people. It's about interacting. So it's interacting, how important today, interacting with that human connection and implementing food with that human connection. So I want people to be reminded when they think about me is that's what I am about, human connection. We're not an island. We are human beings needing one another. The best medicine in the world is even having a sandwich or a salad or even just a bite and a cuppa, if you don't have the time, with another human being and just interacting and talking. It is, what's that old Socrates saying? Food and is the medicine, is the soul for medicine to the soul, or something like that.
Something like that. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's you, that's your writing, and your restaurant. You bring all of you and your writing and everything out in your restaurant so that people can experience an expression of you.
Yes. Just very recently, I did a bit of renovation, and I actually battled with that renovation. I didn't want, because restaurants today have got that really clear, white, a bit of sanitary, you can't see anything. Well, I didn't want that in my restaurant. I wanted colours, vibrant, the paladin puppets of Sicily. I wanted the colours of Sicily, the flag of Sicily. I wanted the texture of the tiles all on the walls. I wanted a person to come in and, wow. But I battled with that because I thought maybe they're not ready for it, but they are.
Of course they are.
People want that life. That's life.
Yeah, well, you're giving them kind of an experience of Sicily
Yeah.
in Australia, down the Mornington Peninsula. You know, it's a great thing to be able to do.
It's a beautiful way to come and have a meal with people, with friends. We cater for big groups. We have massive groups. We sometimes even close our restaurant just for the groups. But it's a good way of connecting because to us in Europe, Sundays is a day where you turn off everything. The way it used to be, Australia used to be like that too, but then they started opening up everything, and then we got busy, and then we realised, well, you know, what's going on. But Sundays used to be a time where every restaurant, every shop was shut.
Yes.
And you had picnics, you went out, you invited people, and you know, that's what's important, is that reminding that food and people are very much a part of everyday life. We need that.
Absolutely. And where is your restaurant? What is it called? And where is it? And how can they get in contact with you?
Okay. So my restaurant is called Sorrento Trattoria. Trattoria means an inn, a place to come in and eat, like home kind of cooking.
Okay.
It's 20 Ocean Beach Road, Sorrento. You can call on 5984 5655. You can go onto our website, www.sorrentotrattoria.com.au. You can also follow me on www.carmelascuisinaclass.com.au. I have my own website for the Sicilian cooking, and branched out. It's like another branch, another business, but also it's part of Sorrento Trattoria, but it's very much part business that I created on cooking Sicilian, the cooking school, and the Sicily travel and blogs and recipes are on that one there.
Beautiful. And I would like to say thank you for, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for being on the show at the most inconvenient times. I apologise. The experience that people can have when they go to your restaurant is one of community, connection, conversation, and a real fun time.
And culture.
Thank you for your time, Carmela, and thank you for sharing your experience with the audience. And I'm sure that they will want to know more about you and what you do and why you do what you do. This is Tuesday Lunch Live, talking all things business. I'm Faye Waterman, your host. Thank you for joining us today. If you know anyone who is in business that would like to be on the show, please let them know that this is available for them. If you're a small business and you're struggling to get your message out there, that know, like and trust, so people want to do business with you, this is the place to come. Tuesday lunch or night lives, talking all things business with Faye Waterman. Thank you for your time, and bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.